in the world. If you're here, please kindly say hi, drop a like, and share the live on Twitter so that more people can join if you have a Twitter profile. Can everyone hear me? Mic check. Just to make sure that you can hear me, please say yes or I can hear you. I would appreciate that. We're just going to do a quick live. Before we commence, I literally just now published a Patreon market update on what my expectations of the market are after having sold 90% of my portfolio at roughly 110,000. Well, when Bitcoin was at $110,000, now it has dropped to 74K, and I just shared what my market expectations are and what I'm looking for. The link to that will be posted in the comments section down below. We're just going to talk about a little bit what's going on in crypto, the liquidations that are taking place. All right, everyone can hear me? Wonderful. So, I just want to talk about basically the crash that's currently developing. Back when it was 35% on Twitter, I shared basically that there's never been an instance with Bitcoin when Bitcoin had crashed 35% after roughly 4 years into the cycle and then not crashed further. Now we're down 40%. And personally, I believe that it's going to keep crashing because there's never been an instance also after roughly 4 years into the cycle when Bitcoin crashed 40% and it didn't go lower. It always went lower eventually. That being the case, and looking at basically all the other percentage drawdowns we've had in the past, it's reasonable to expect lower. It's also reasonable to expect a smaller crash than usual. But that being said, the current crash is nowhere near big enough, in my opinion. Of course, micro-wise, there'll be bounces. There will be retraces, and I'm sure traders will do their best to try and catch something there. I'm sure, as always, they won't be very successful about it. So what I'm going to stick to is the macro. I'm going to basically wait for the right moment, look for good bottoming structures that I usually look for when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto in general. And I'll be sharing them on my Patreon. And as always, informing people what I'm accumulating, why, and at what prices. As for now, what I can say is my personal opinion is that the market will go lower. It's just a matter of patience. I don't see any reason why it would hit new highs. A rebound, sure, like I said, it can range, it can bounce, but I don't see a reason why it will not go to new lows in this new cycle. It's been roughly 4 years in. Ethereum failed to break 5,000. Stocks kept rampaging for years on end. Stock indexes, as expected, kept hitting new highs. Instead of alts going parabolic, suddenly metals woke up and went parabolic. And I think that's a sign, definitely that was a sign, and it appears that I was right to get out of the market because, when something that's been dormant for decades or something that hasn't gone parabolic for decades suddenly starts going parabolic, it's definitely not a good sign for risk-on markets when safe haven assets start going parabolic, right? Something is different, and you have to acknowledge that. And if the thoughts are that something is different and is being reflected in the price of the things that you hold, it's time to embrace the fact that basically the market is not doing as well as you had hoped. Take the profits that you're being offered, get out, much smaller than you initially hoped for, but still good profits. And wait for the crashes and rotate those profits back in, and that's exactly what I did, and that's what's currently happening. So what I would say my take on the market is that patience is going to pay off if you're going to be patient about looking for good entries. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I like buying after big crashes. I don't think the current crashes are big enough, that's my take on the market. I don't know what else to really say here without giving out way too many details. But what I can say is that, one thing we've learned from the past cycles that buying the dip is never a good idea because I keep saying, I've been saying this for nearly a decade now, you can buy the dip maybe 2, 3, maybe even 5 times and get lucky. but then that sixth time you buy the dip and it becomes a major crash, like in the past, like a 70 or 80 Bitcoin crash or an altcoin crash that wipes out your portfolio temporarily or sometimes forever, because some altcoins never recover. So I'm not a proponent of buying dips. I like to buy crashes. And then once the crash happens, I like buying another crash or two if I'm lucky enough. If not, I bought a crash, that's that. So yeah, I still don't see much fear in the markets. That's the 2 cents, my 2 cents. I don't see much fear. A lot of people keep saying buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. And yeah, that's that. BK saying Clarity Act coming soon. I don't know. You think it's a big deal? I really don't think it's a big deal. I just think it's not a narrative, not that important to me at all. I just look at the technicals and percentages and sentiment. And if the time frame fits, great. If the time frame doesn't fit, it's not that important to me. The percentages and the technicals are much more important to me. What are your thoughts on the Epstein saga regarding Bitcoin? Tell the truth, I don't really have much to say about that. I try to stay out of things I'm not really familiar with. I don't know much, right? So if I were to pretend to be an expert on the Epstein files or anything like that, I'd be lying through my teeth. I don't know much. It's very difficult. These things are incredibly difficult and thorough. You really have to know what you're talking about and read up on a lot of things, which I haven't done, so I have nothing to offer there. What I can say is basically, just be patient. Try to get great entries. The way it usually works is after you get great entries, temporarily you're at a loss, and eventually the market recovers, and whatever the bounce is, whatever the macro uptrend is, you sell without trying to put price targets on it. Because like we discussed the last time, price targets are exciting, but most of them never take place. All YouTubers, all technical analysts, including me, have gotten most price targets wrong. And we're talking about some of the best in the game. Those who can predict good crashes, those who can predict bottoming structures, those who can predict good diversification. The one thing that even the best people in crypto are not really good at, including me, is exact price targets. Unfortunately, that's not something that has been consistent with anyone. So what you do is you give the price targets, and you simply sell after a decent, nice pump. I don't even know if you guys can see me. I'm heading home. It's so dark. Probably was not a good idea to go live right now. I should have done this earlier. But as I promised, I'll be doing lives, a lot more frequently. So yeah, that's what I have to say. I'm still basically looking for liquidations. I'm not gonna mention my exact targets here. I'll be doing an XRP update where I'm interested to buy XRP tomorrow and publishing it on Patreon, so you can read it there if you want. But all I can say is I'm not buying right now. I'm still protecting the profits I've taken, and I'm waiting for good accumulation zones. I don't think they have come yet for me personally. Maybe for some people they have. I respect that. Good hustle out there. Go get it. Do what you got to do. But for me, this is not good enough, because historically all crashes have been much bigger, and even if the crashes are diminishing and becoming smaller, they're still nowhere near big enough to consider accumulation. And once they are, I will start accumulating without trying to catch the bottom. So yeah, I don't think that a 40% drop on Bitcoin is a good enough drop. Once I think that the drop is good enough, that's where I'll be buying it, and where I'll be backing up the truck, to buy a handful of good alts that have done something every single cycle. I've publicly stated that XRP is one of those alts, so I believe definitely that in this cycle, something that's a good idea to accumulate after a big crash without trying to catch the bottom is both Bitcoin and XRP, and just hold that for years. And then whatever the price is several years down the road, you just sell it for that price and take the profits that you have. There's no point trying to predict is it going to be a 5x, a 10x, a 15x. Nobody knows, right? We've looked at the stats, we've looked at the performance of anybody in this space. Nobody knows, so we're no point trying to predict it. Whatever it will be, whatever the market gives us, that's what we'll sell it for. We take what the market offers us, basically. Oh, International Crypto Asset Ninja. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you too. Yeah, me too. I'm waiting for great entries, and I don't think that they're here yet. You know, yeah, especially for people I think that haven't taken any profits. Like I know that the last cycle was very disappointing. Given the fact that 99% of altcoins did nothing, that's very understandable. It was disappointing for me, but like the profits that we hoped for initially were much bigger, but the market did not deliver those profits. So I took the profits that the market cycle did deliver. I've always been talking about roughly 4-year cycles. I've never been the guy saying that they don't exist. On the contrary, I've always said that until I see that the roughly 4-year cycles are proven wrong, I'm a roughly 4-year cycle guy. And once they stop working, eventually they will, just like any fractal and whatnot. But so far that hasn't happened yet. But once that happens, I will basically stop believing in them. For now, I had no reason to stop believing in them. Thank goodness that I stuck to them, because we were roughly 4 years in. Ethereum wasn't doing anything. It could not breach 5,000. It could not give a clean break into new all-time highs. It could not stay above critical support levels. Metal started going parabolic. Publicly traded companies started hitting trillions in market cap. And basically, altcoins weren't doing anything. They weren't breaching crucial resistance levels. They were just ranging or dropping or slowly bleeding out. So I think the signs were there to get out. I spoke about them several times, and then finally, I believe on 30th October, I pulled the plug. I sold 90% of my portfolio and got out, holding only 10%, which were basically risky coins. I still hold them, 10% of the portfolio from the last cycle, which are small caps and mid caps. And I don't expect much from them, but if they deliver, they deliver in this cycle. Once again, I don't think they will, which is exactly why I sold 90% of the portfolio, and this will be rotated into the market when I think the time is right. So, all right, good talking to you, my friends. Tomorrow I will come on YouTube significantly earlier so you can see my face when I'm talking. I'm sorry that it's this dark. It got very dark very quickly, so I apologize for that. Please put a like. Please share the live on YouTube so more people can see it. Maybe somebody will listen to the message, maybe not. But thank you for joining, and I appreciate your time and appreciate your thoughts. Bye-bye, guys. See you tomorrow.